So, quick opening statement. You good? Or you need me to wait for a second? Okay. You know, difficult loss to swallow. I think there were so many opportunities for us to make plays in that game that, starting in the first half, really, first quarter actually, that would have dramatically impacted the game. Our inability to put the ball in the end zone on that first drive, missed opportunity on a double move. Should have probably been a walk-in touchdown. One of the better balls that Tucker threw on the day. And then, it kind of became just kind of a slugfest after that. It was a very close game, 7-6 at halftime. It was second half. I just think there were so many things that we could have done better, starting with me as the head coach, in terms of, getting us into better play selection, utilizing timeouts to get us out of bad play selection. There was just so many things that were available for us. And then, in a game like that, it's going to come down to 4 or 5 plays. And you really got to credit them. I mean, they made those plays. I mean, even though we didn't field the punt, that punter put the ball down on the 1-inch line, okay? And that was a huge play. We didn't protect well, but they made a play. And that's what we didn't do. We didn't go make plays. Our playmakers didn't make plays that were available to be made. I was proud of the way our defense, even though we had a couple scheme things that they got us on with some slant routes into the boundary, we'd give up a play, but then we'd tighten up and force a 3-and-out right after that, or hold them to a field goal if they got in the red zone, or as we did in the first half, create a takeaway in the red zone with a big hit by Quay. And it was just a very, very even game. You look at it, exactly how many times are you going to play a game you're going to have exactly the same amount of total offense for both teams? That doesn't happen very often. It's kind of a statistical anomaly. We had the one takeaway, which probably took points or at least a field goal opportunity away from them. And that was really that. Other than that, it was just a dead even game, and it was going to come down to what it did. Us making some mistakes in the fourth quarter, leading into that last possession, and them capitalizing on it. And so, it stings and it's tough, and we can control what we can control moving forward. We got to not listen to outside noise. Stay focused on what we've got to do to improve. I really felt like we did some of the things we talked about going into the bye week on defense, and I think we started to do that on offense. And then as the game got tighter, you could almost sense that it was like, let's not screw this up. We're in a close game. Let's not make mistakes. You got to play to win. You got to play to win. You can't call games or play games not to lose. And that's been my message to our staff and to our players moving forward, is that no matter what, these guys are going to respond how we do. And if we tell them and show them, really not tell them because words are meaningless, but show them that we believe in them, we have confidence in them, and when plays are available, let's call that play. Let's not get kind of pushed into a box. And I think that's to a large degree what happened to us on Saturday afternoon on offense in the second half was as the game got tighter, we started to call a game not to lose it. And ultimately that put us in a position where you're going to lose it. And we've got to call games and play games to win. And that is my opening statement. Questions?
What is your role just on the play selection?
Yeah, really it kind of varies from week to week, to be honest with you, Greg. And I think that's, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm a genius offensive mind. I think what I understand is defensive football better than offensive football. So when I have suggestions, it's based on the style of defense that we're playing. And so through the course of the week, I have sidebars with our offensive staff, our defensive staff, with BJ. This last week, quite honestly, I spent much more time on defense, and coming off the Sac State game, off the bye, that was an area where I didn't feel like we were playing with the right edge, and devoted more time to that particular side of the ball. But that's still going to be, as I tell Matt, I'm making suggestions. I'm not making demands during a game, unless I tell him, hey, we're calling this. And so that's what I try to do is, you can always tell when when a play caller is struggling for a call, it's easy for me, whether it was Ty or Kane now, it was easy for me on defense. Go to this, go to this, go to this. I can help those guys because I've done that. And on offense, it's got to be, I think that's where we have to do, starting with me, a better job of helping Matt in those situations, whether that's, mixing up where our guys are at. And I think we will do some things to change kind of the location of our coaching staff to help the communication, because that was an issue on Saturday. We had some sideline stuff that was not good. I mean, we had some play calls and card calls that were wrong, and in some critical situations that, we've got to clean that part of it up. And I think by, getting better feedback from our guys in the booth, maybe moving some guys around. Last year, one of the things I felt that was really good for us was having Brian and Matt up there together. I thought those guys worked really well together because if it was a third down, hey, Brian, get your third down run ready. Matt, get your third down pass ready. And then when you get to third down, you got two really good ideas that are already ready to go. And we need to take some of that off of him in terms of having to carry everything. Matt, with Brian being focused on the offensive line, that's such a labor-intensive deal. And the communication that takes place really in between series every single time with those guys is so critical. And so I think that's an area that we can do a better job. And, at the end of the day, hey, here's the deal. I'm the head football coach. When things don't go well, that's on me as the head football coach. And everybody's going to share some level of responsibility, but I bear the ultimate responsibility, and I accept that responsibility, and I'm fine with that. And for us to improve, we got to be better in a number of areas. And, we're going to work really, really hard to improve those areas, and we're excited that we have a home football game on Saturday to go play.
Last week, and kind of consistently, we've talked at this point of the season, you are who you are.
Yep.
How do you hope to spark your team going into November? Do you see that as an issue at this point?
No, I think our guys we're in familiar territory, if you will, and I think our guys, kind of get that you got to, we have this conversation with them on a regular basis. So, sometimes you got to wait for it to get hard, because when it gets hard, that's when other people start to kind of fall off, and that's when you've got to have that toughness and that edge and start to grab a gear and move forward. And so, we have our deficiencies without a doubt, but so does every single team. Every single team's got an Achilles heel. They've got flaws. Right now you got kind of Sac State and Weber that are the cream of the crop in this league, and then it's a dogfight right now for everybody else that wants to get an opportunity to play postseason football. And there's 3 or 4 teams, maybe even as many as 5 in this league that are still in that mode. And so there's a lot of football to be played, and there's going to be teams that have, we've got to improve without a doubt. But really what we got to do is play to win.
You were at this point last season, very similar
Drop 2,
fashion. Do you
yeah.
have a level of confidence knowing that you had your backs against the wall and came out and performed last year?
Yeah, well, you're not the team you were last year, and I have a lot of confidence in our group. We have some tremendous senior leaders. I like our captains. I like the toughness of this group. I like how we're playing defense right now. I think we've got to make create some momentum for ourselves in the kicking game and be better there. And clearly we've got to be more explosive on offense. But I have total confidence in this group to be able to go achieve the goals that we still have in front of us.
In the past couple of years, what has been the key to that improvement in the season?
One game at a time mentality. I think one of the things that happens to a team early, especially, young guys are young guys. You get in early in the season, right? And regardless of what happens, good or bad, early in a year, that can really skew kind of how kids view themselves. And it forces, a lot of times they'll start looking ahead. I'm pretty confident there's a group of our guys, not all of them, but a group of our guys that were looking ahead to the bye week when the week we played Sac State, And I don't think anybody was looking ahead or looking past North Dakota. I think North Dakota's a really good football team at home. They've proven that out. They beat Sam Houston State. They beat Cal Davis. They beat us, all in really good, tight, competitive games. And they're a little bit different team on the road. And so as we go down the stretch, what we've got to do is it can't be massive improvements. It's got to be incremental improvements and make the plays that are available to be made. Again, we go back, you look at, let's say we punch that first score in, and on that second drive, Travis catches that ball. It's 14-0. I think we got our swagger at that point. It's going to be a pretty good day for the Bobcats. Neither one of those things happened. And North Dakota took advantage of the momentum that was created by us not grabbing what was in front of us. And so I think those are things that very easy to illustrate to the young men in our program. And now it's about, it's about toughness, it's about discipline, it's about passion, it's about competitiveness. And that's what we've got to hang our hat on right now.
Talked a lot about third down conversions on offense, but the sheer volume of third down plays that you faced seems pretty high. I think 18 third down plays last week, 15 against Sac State. Is that too many, do you think?
Well, I think, yeah, it definitely is. But one of the things that I think we've done is we've made teams earn it. And I do think there's an aspect to that you're not giving up the big play, even if they're converting those third downs and continuing to do that. There's at least they're having to earn it. We gave up the trick play. That was the only offensive score they had in the whole game. Once they got in the red zone, they really couldn't do a lot. And I think this is a pretty good offense. You know, I really do, especially in that dome setting. I think those guys sling the ball around pretty good. He's got some good targets. They have good scheme. And so, you know, I mean, we got to do a little bit better job sometimes on second down. I think that was, in this game in particular, I think that was what caught up with us because there were some second down plays where we had them back. You know, we'd get a negative play on first down, and then they get a 9-yard gain on second and 12, and all of a sudden you got a very manageable third down.
You do have young coordinators, and Matt just in his second year. Do you consider it more of maybe some growing pains than a trend?
No, I mean, statistically, Matt's tenure here as a play caller has been our best. And so I think that there's a variety of reasons why you have lulls, and some of it is film. You know, I mean, some of it is, hey, Tucker's been on film for a while. Now they've got some things on him. Some of it is, you know, some of the playmakers that we had early in the season we don't necessarily have access to right now. Some of it is Matt getting more film and people understanding who he is. And so I think that, yeah, I mean, I'd probably, I don't know if I'd say it exactly the same way. I don't know if it's growing pains, but I think that certainly, you know, Matt's not a finished product, and he's a really smart guy, and he's a really hard worker, and he has the confidence and trust of our team. And I think that's the thing that will, you know, he'll continue to improve. There's no doubt. And as we all do, you know, as we all do. I mean, if we don't, it's probably time to move on and do something else.
Evaluate Demarius Hosey's performance. Young guy hadn't played since Western Illinois, came in 76 yards. Had some juice for you guys.
Yeah, I had the one explosive play for us early in the game, did some nice things. I think obviously he's a guy that we think a lot of, and he's certainly going to be someone that as he gets more and more reps, he's going to, I think, show more and more. You know, he missed maybe a few cuts here or there and didn't pour it in a few times where you'd like to see him do that, and I think that's just a symptom of not as many reps. I mean, he's been on the shelf for the last couple of weeks as we're trying to get other guys. You know, Logan Jones was our primary guy for a while. Isaiah still really isn't healthy to the point where we can roll him through series, and so that was the decision this week was to get D-Hose going, and he did an awesome job.
Southern Utah lost 5 in a row before last week, putting up nearly 60 against Idaho State. How do you evaluate that team?
So here's what I'd say about Southern Utah. Okay, so Coach Warren has got these guys improving. When you look at them statistically and you go, okay, at Weber State, one of the best teams in the league, they play a really close competitive ball game. Okay, then they get Davis at home, play really well against Davis, lose the game. Okay, then they get Idaho State and they rout them. Now, it was a weird game. There was a lot of strange things that happened early in that game that really put Idaho State at a I mean, it was 28-7 in the first quarter. And so that it was kind of an interesting set of events. I mean, the very first play from scrimmage should have probably been a pick six. Quarterback throws to the boundary. They cloud the boundary. He intercepts it. They get first and goal on the 7-yard line. That was the very first offensive play that Southern Utah had, and it kind of went downhill from there for Idaho State. But they made those plays, and I think that they're a very confident team coming off of that victory without a doubt, and as they should be. And, you know, I think their quarterback, who's a transfer, has continued to get better and better as the year went on. I think he's identified who he's comfortable with. Number 14, really good athlete, really, you know, kind of a spark for him on offense in a variety of ways. They've started to run the quarterback in the +1 run game, design quarterback runs, and I think that's helped them and helped their offense start to kind of gel. They play a variety of guys at running back, but all of them are pretty capable players. They've got 58, one of the center that's one of the better offensive linemen in the country over the last couple of years, and so they definitely have some talent there. When I look at them on defense, they're kind of multiple, and really for us, we see a different defense anyway every week. Maybe the exception is like a North Dakota because they are so aggressive anyway. But you know, this isn't a team that on paper has a high blitz percentage. But if you're watching us, you're probably going bring field wave as much as you possibly can and see if they have an answer for it. You know, and so you know, I think this is a defense that's improving week in and week out. You know, it's hard to decide if they're you know, their base is kind of a 4-3. You'll see them play 4-2-5 nickel against lighter set teams. They'll get into some odd stack at times. Really, they're more multiple in their coverage looks than they are in their front. Not a heavy blitz team, as I said, but a team I think that's improved over the last 3 weeks, playing good competition. Played a really tight competitive game against Weber State at their place. Played a tight competitive game against Cal Davis at Southern Utah, and then had the big win, maybe that breakthrough moment for them against Idaho State. So I think they're a dangerous team with a lot of momentum coming in.
Was Saturday the best example of what Troy can bring on defense at linebacker, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's played a couple pretty good. He played pretty well against Cal Poly as well, against a different style, and maybe you don't notice it as much. But I think that he's starting to become more comfortable in that role, and that's kind of the catch-22. It's like, how much do you play him on offense when he's being that effective on defense? And but I think he did some really nice things in that game.
What have you thought of his production on both sides of the ball? I think 34 tackles, 3 sacks, 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. I can't imagine what he'd do if he was 100%. It'd probably be twice that. And I think that's a testament to his toughness. And, you can tell, I mean, how many times have you probably watched a run he's making and you're thinking, he got caught a year ago, he's gone. And I think that he even gets frustrated by that, because he's such a competitive guy. But I do think he's feeling a little bit better than he has. And you can see that showing up, I think, in terms of how he's playing.
You talked about being on the headset and being able to talk with both coordinators. Now that you've seen Kane in the first half of conference play, what have you thought of his play calling and kind of his maturation as a coordinator?
Yeah, I think, again, what I'd say is I liked his aggressiveness in the first half of this game. I think that has set a tone for our defense, and I think what he's learning is the rhythm of the play calling, And he was on the sideline, I think, when he called plays in 15, and I think it's been much better for him being upstairs. I think it's not as chaotic, and you can just kind of get into the flow of the offensive play caller's rhythm too. And I think that's what I've seen with him is over the course of games, I've seen him kind of catch up. You never know exactly what their game plan is going to be going in. And so you've got to kind of adjust and adapt, and everybody's going to have tendencies, but you still, they're going to attack us this way. And I think Kane has done a nice job as the game has kind of gone on and progressed of identifying how offensive play callers are trying to attack us and then finding the rhythm and the flow to be able to, this is our counterpunch. Okay, yeah, we're going to bring boundary pressure here because they are doing this on third down, or we're going to stay out of that pressure here because that's been a problem for us on this particular set. So I think he's done a nice job of adjusting and kind of getting into the flow of the game as it's gone on.
We were able to talk to Tucker after the game, and he seemed to put a lot of the loss on himself. Is that just him being a leader, or is he being too hard on himself?
Probably. I mean, at the end of the day, and I don't talk. It's one of those weird deals. I think the head coach and the quarterback have to have kind of an interesting relationship. And one of the things I always tell those guys is, at the end of the day, fellas, listen, we're going to get way too much blame when things don't go well, and we're going to, get way too much credit when they do. And so, you got to try to maintain a little bit of a balance, a little bit of an even keel. And but I think that's hard. I mean, Tucker cares about those guys in that locker room. He knows that he's the play. He's the offense is going through him. And, he internalizes a lot of that. But I think it's unfair to say that was all on him. I mean, clearly there was a lot of things that took place during that course of that game that everybody bears responsibility in. Good?
Colton, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple questions. First, Jeff, we were talking about Troy just a second ago. Just kind of how do you approach his workload at this point? And because I know you said you wanted to go to him late there in the game on offense. Just kind of how do you approach his workload at this point in the season?
Well, it's actually been kind of a week-to-week thing because a lot of it depends on how he's feeling physically. And we try to protect Troy from Troy sometimes because he only knows one speed. And, if he's really beat up, probably needs to play a little bit more defense because he can control a little bit more what's going to happen to him there. On offense, especially when he's carrying the ball, there's a lot of bullets flying from a lot of different directions. And usually when he lines somebody up, he's going to try to truck them. And they usually make good business decisions and try to tackle them low instead of high, and that's where some of the dings have come from. And so, we've got to be smart with him, and his health is probably the number one thing that we think about in terms of his workload.
And lastly here, I kind of talked about urgency now at this point after coming off of last week. What do you kind of think of the attitude of the team is right now coming off of a couple losses? Yeah,
Sunday was a tough day. Sundays are always going to be difficult after a loss, but clearly that was a gut-wrenching loss. Some of the sequence of events that took place, and being a hard-fought road game, and all those types of things, and playing probably well enough to win on the defensive side, and not quite getting enough done in the other two phases to get it over the top. And so it takes a while. The old 24-hour rule definitely applies, and sometimes it's a little bit more. But I think what was really good was for us to get outside this morning. I think that being in 17-degree weather in a snowstorm, got that fresh air kind of, got them going a little bit. But you do need to get back out. It's like, what our sanctuary is. It doesn't matter what sport you play. If you're a wrestler, your sanctuary is the mat. If you're a basketball player, your sanctuary is the court. If you're a football player, your sanctuary is the field. And so you get back out there and you start moving around, and you realize that you know, you're still upright and breathing, and you get to play a game that you love, and you're out there with your brothers, and let's go wash this thing out of our mouth, and let's go get ready to go play another game.